a foot rim, like I did on the bowl.
My friend calls those plates.
Ma'am?
My friend calls those plates.
Blades?
Plates, because she makes them, she sells them as plates. It's sort of a combo bowl plate.
Okay.
Because it has a
Like a
bigger,
nice pasta bowl.
right, she said.
Blades.
A blade.
Funny.
Yeah.
And this clay's a little wet, but still just about right. I mean, it's, if it was 5% drier, it would be a little better. Okay, this is thick enough that I'm going to take a little clay out of here, but you don't want to push very hard here. There's enough expanse here. You push here, you're going to have this in your plate. No, you're going to have this in your plate, and that's not desirable. So I will take a little bit out. And when I get close to where the foot's going to be, since the inside of the plate's going like this a little bit, this is going to be a little thicker. So I can take a little bit of clay out of here. And burnish that edge. You know, I hate the idea of putting a piece of my pottery on a nice piece of furniture or something and then scratching the surface. So I'm real careful about having my finished foot. And I always use references that your black lacquered grand piano that's in your living room.
Yeah.
You know. That would be a shame. Uniformity of thickness. No matter how thick the ware is itself, you want it to be even thickness. And these little burrs, since the clay's a little wetter, I don't do too much with them right now. And later on, I'll take a towel, these blue towels or a terry cloth, and wipe everything down. And after we carve these slip things, there's going to be some little burrs. And once it's dry, before it goes in the kiln, I wipe everything down to get all those rough edges off. Okay, and then I would normally check. And this is a little thick still. I probably could have gotten this much more diameter in this piece. So I'm going to go back and take a little more clay out now that I've realized I've got still a little more to remove. Okay, let's put a handle on this little cup, and then we will do some carving. Okay, like I was saying earlier, I pull my handles off of the cup. And you want to start, and I would start with maybe 3 or 4 pounds of clay and pull all of these lugs off of the same one and line them up here so that they're all similar in size. And that's one of those things that it takes a little time to get a feel for how thick you need the handle, how much clay you want to start with. If you can get them just about right, then it eliminates some pulls. You don't have to work at it quite as much to get it the thickness you want if you start closer to the thickness that you want in the end. So I wedge my clay very well so that all the particles are well stacked up. And this one's, and then okay? And that's probably a little more clay than I need. Let's see if we can get another one out of here. Okay, those are the start of the handle. And then I score where it's going to attach, and every drinking vessel is different. Every form's different, and where you put the handle is different. First of all, function. How's it going to feel? How well is it going to work for its intended purpose? And this, I'm going to go all the way up here, and this handle is going to go pretty much down to the bottom. It'll be the full. You know, some people might do this kind of thing. Some people might do one here and do this. Does it feel good? Does it handle well? I picked up mugs from people that have made them for 20 years, and I think, I wonder if they've ever drunk out of this. It just doesn't, it's awkward. It doesn't feel right. The lip is such that it doesn't feel good on your lip. So I'm aware of that, and I think about all those things when I make. And this, I've settled in on this is pretty much my coffee mug, but it also relates to my soup mug and soup bowl and my dinnerware. So this is part of my Weberware line and I used to make other shapes of mugs, and I just, you know, it's too much to try and keep up with all the different sizes, and then somebody calls and says, I want 6 mugs, and they say, yeah, it's got that little thing on the thing, and it's got this thing on it, and I said, well, I'm not sure if your interpretation is the same as mine is. Same thing with colors of glazes. I've simplified mine to a green, a teal, a blue, and people say, that's not green, that's aqua, you know? And I say, well, it's the closest thing I have to a green. Oh, that's not teal, that's, you know. Anyway, everybody has a different interpretation. So you score where you're going to attach and where you're going to put it at the bottom. And I dip this in a little water. And this is one of my favorite things to tell you. When you put a handle on, you push it on, don't wish it on. Okay? And I don't know where I picked that up. I don't think that's an original thing. But I've always used that. Push it on, don't wish it on. And I'm sealing very well all the way around. And before I start to pull too much, I make sure that that's well sealed. and I hate to say 100 handles and you'll start to get the hang of this, but it takes some time to learn how to do this. How much do I pull at one time? How fast do I try and get the clay stretched out? How thick to make it? How wide do you want your handle? How much clay did I need to start with in order to get the full expanse of the piece? So there's a lot of variables that you need to kind of work through. So when you get the clay about the thickness and the, well, not about, when you get it the thickness that you want and the width, then this takes a natural curve and you attach. Okay, you have to remember this cup is shrunk maybe 3 or 4% at this point from when it was totally wet. So you need to compensate putting a wet handle on leather hard pots. The handle needs to have a little bit more distance away from the cup than it will after it shrinks. And then it'll be a little better. So make sure that you get the handle attached well onto where you scored. And then I do a little sponging. The more you sponge, the more granular surface you get. So you want to sponge as much as you need, but don't over sponge. And try not to use any more water than you need. And I do a lot of kind of little refining, little finish work just with my fingers. Add a little water. Okay, this handle needs to come up a little bit, so I can't just push it up. So what I do is I go like this and then I coax it. I don't do it just in one place. And that is actually a little bit, and it's going to shrink in a little bit. And you don't want your handle so close to the cup that your fingers are touching the cup, and you don't want it so big that it's gawky, and you can only get 3 cups in your cabinet. So anyway, this, and then I always dry any vessel, pitcher, cup, anything that I put a handle on upside down. And reason for that, 2 things. One, if this handle is going to slump at all, it's going to slump down, which is more desirable than it's going the other way. And also this rim, you want to trap the air so that the rim doesn't dry too quickly. If the rim dries too quickly, you have more of a chance of having cracks or losing your handle. You know, having those little cracks. And that sealing that I do, in most cases, 98% of the time, it prevents any sort of cracks in my handles. Okay?